Bentornati al mio canale YouTube. Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe and make sure not to miss our wonderful guests revolving around the Italian American community, the Boston area, but also emerging music artists, authors, and much more. And today, I have the pleasure to host a tenor, un tenore. His name is Jackson Caesar, and he's from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And he's one of Washington, D.C.'s prominent male vocalists, an American singer, a recording artist, a songwriter, arranger, producer, and also motivational coach and teacher, lecturer. So lots of talents, notable instruments, piano and percussion. He has wowed audiences with his talents and skills, performing in 4 languages and 5 genres, and attracting crowds of various ethnic backgrounds. So, praised for his distinguished stage presence and extended high range, light lyrical tones, fine diction, song interpretation, and vocal phrasing. Today, I'm very proud to host Tenor Jackson Caesar. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me. Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. Complimenti. Excellent Italian.
Grazie.
So, the purpose of today's interview is discussing the upcoming celebration of the renaming celebration event. On Monday, June 3rd at 1 p.m., the Brookline community will celebrate the name change of Heath School to the Roland Hayes School. The event will be casual and fun, hopefully outdoors, as it would be great to see the community
Yes.
come out and participate in this celebration. And you can expect to hear presentations from the school principal and great music. So, who was Roland Hayes and what were his contributions?
Well, thanks for asking. Let's begin with he was born in Georgia, Calhoun, Georgia, 24 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So as you can see, if he was born at that time, his mother or his parents would have been slaves. In fact, his mother was a former slave. His father was not reported as a slave, but his mother was a former slave, and they lived on a farm with they lived on a farm in Calhoun, Georgia. And so when he was 10 years old, his father passed away and they moved to Chattanooga, Tennessee. And when they moved to Chattanooga, Tennessee, that's when Roland Hayes heard the wonderful sounds of Enrico Caruso, who was an Italian tenor, famous opera singer. He heard him on a phonograph, a recording, and he was blown away with the music. And he says, I've never heard a voice like that. He decided to start taking private lessons. And he ended up going to Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee. And then from there, he joined the Fisk Jubilee Singers. They were touring back and forth from Europe to the United States. And then he went back to Europe as a soloist and began his career as a solo artist, or shall I say, as a musician entrepreneur. And then he ended up performing for kings and queens in Europe. And he would sing the classical repertoire, and he would close out his programs with the Negro spirituals. And that placed the Negro spirituals on a global platform. And this is what his contribution is to the world and to the United States, that he was able to bring the Negro spirituals on a global platform because they'd never heard music like this before. And so because of his drive to bring the African American or the Negro spirituals to Europe, they wanted more. And so they brought him back. And so he ended up touring Europe for about, or living there for about 12 years. And then from there, he tried to move back home, but he had a bad experience in Rome, Georgia. And he was actually beat up by the police and put in jail. And so he decided to move to Boston area, and he lived there for the remainder for about 50 years left of his life. And he ended up teaching out there as well. And he lived in Brookline.
Wow, that's very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with
My
us.
pleasure.
So, now tell us about your project and what fascinated you to create your documentary about him.
So thanks for asking. I was attending the University District of Columbia when I was in college and undergrad. And I had a good friend of mine who was teaching at Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. And we were talking over the phone, and he says, okay, so he was excited because he's a musician. He says, you should be performing music by Roland Hayes. And I was like, I didn't know who he was. And I was like, I don't know who he is. He goes, I'm going to send you some music. So he sent me the songbook of Roland Hayes. It's called My Favorite Spirituals. And so I introduced it to my teacher. And at the time, I was taking voice lessons from Nelda Ormond. And she said, oh, wonderful. You need to read up on him because I didn't know anything about him. So she says, I'm going to assign a few songs from here, and you just need to read up on him. So I took it upon myself to do that, and I was blown away with his life. I was like, wait a minute. I never heard of this guy before. In the 1920s, he was considered one of the highest paid musicians in the world. And he was also the first to perform with the Boston Symphony Orchestra, with a major orchestra as an African American. He was the first to perform with one of them. And I was just like, wait a minute, I didn't know anything about this guy. So in this collection book, there are 30 songs. They're called 30 of My Favorite Spirituals. And at the time, I was like, I don't recall ever attending a concert of all spirituals. And so I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give a tribute to this man, and I'm going to perform all of his spirituals. Well, there were 30. And I said, okay, how do I put this into 1 hour of a concert? So I'm only performing 20. And so that it just fit to about like 64 minutes. So I decided to take it upon myself and just do make him my project. And so that's how I came about this. And I said I want to celebrate the spirituals, his life, and his music. And that collection book helped me do so.
Absolutely. And by the way, I am a big fan of Boston Symphony Orchestra.
Oh,
And also,
wonderful.
yeah, and also Enrico Caruso is, oh,
I
unforgettable.
was hoping you would know that name. I was like, I
Yeah,
hope she better know this name.
unforgettable voice.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and that's the same thing Roland Hayes said. He was like an unforgettable voice, and he was like, "I need to do this." Yeah, Enrico Caruso made a contribution by way of a phonograph.
Okay, you're so fun. Thank you so much for joining us, really.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem. So, what can you tell us about the event? Back to the event. What can we expect?
Well, I'm excited about this event. One, because word of mouth got me to this point. Someone, put it in. There was like a buzz going around. There's a guy named Jackson Caesar in the Washington D.C. area. He actually performs the music of Roland Hayes, and so word got back to them. And this is a wonderful tribute. One, because they had to go before like city hall to have this meeting to get this name change, because when you start talking about diversity and inclusion, things like that, and discrimination and things like that, and you're trying to make a better world, and then you start looking about the history, and you want to honor the neighborhood that you're in, you want to honor the people that live there as well, you want to give some tribute. So you look at the name Heath School and you're like, uh-oh, for some reason. So they started doing some research, and they discovered that the Heath family actually had some slaves. And so they didn't really want that to be known for them, for the positive things that they're doing. So they decided to come up with this idea to change the name. And they had quite a few people listed on that, but Roland Hayes was one of them. And they took a big vote, and he won. And so they're excited to rename the school. It's already been done, but the celebration is going to take place on June 3rd, which actually happens to be the birth date of Roland Hayes. He was born June 3rd. So we're going to celebrate that on his birthday. And so that's what makes it special, because one, because he fought against that, the slavery and discrimination. And two, because he lived in the area. He lived in Brookline area. And so it's like, why not? Other names like Ruth Batson and Ellen and William Craft and John Woodrow Wilson were some of the names that were also considered. But Roland Hayes won over all of them. And I felt that it was when they told me about it, I got super excited because I was like, whoa, he's rightfully so. He should be. One, he lived in the area. So rightfully so. I think it was an excellent way of contributing and also honoring someone who was in that area. So it's going to
Absolutely.
be a fun time. The children are going to come out. They're going to sing. They're going to sing a spiritual as well. I'm going to do a 30-minute concert of his music, singing the spirituals. And it's going to be great. I have a wonderful musician. Mr. Friday is going to play for me. We did a concert in Brookline probably 2 years ago now, and so it's great to be able to meet up with him again. And I'm hoping we can probably get to the Boston Symphony Orchestra one day. That would be wonderful. And then we'll see each other again and be like, I know you. Bonjour. No.
Well, why not? I'm crossing my fingers. Yeah.
Same here.
So thank you so much. And now we're going to play a couple of songs, Two Wings and Dry Bones. What can you tell us about these two?
Oh, okay. So Dry Bones is actually going to be one of my top favorites out of the collection of music. What I love about this song is one, it's biblical. In fact, this is it's biblical because it has biblical text. It comes from the book of Ezekiel. But what's really cool about this is that it's talking about the bones coming together and coming to life. And it's really like about the people, this event. The people are coming together, they're coming to life, and I was like, this is going to be fitting, for this event. And when you hear it, you're gonna fall in love with it because just the way it's done, and there's something to be happy about it too. The Two Wings is a wonderful song too because it's basically, I look at it, this is my interpretation for the Two Wings. I look at it as you're going through or you're experiencing a lot of hardship and trouble, and you're just looking for a way out. And so you're just like, God, if you can just give me two wings to fly away, I can get out of that. Basically, you're saying you're wanting some peace, or you wanting some patience, or you wanting something to help you endure your problems. So that's what I love about the song. And so I hope you guys enjoy it.
Beautiful. Terrific. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jackson.
Thank you for having me. This is great.